Hello, Linda here from Barlates Body Blitz, back with another walk and talk. Minnie is not in the studio at the moment, she's napping inside. It's a cloudy day, it's about to rain, so she's cuddled up on the blankets. But don't worry, she'll be back again very soon. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the topic of your brain is not broken. Okay, so we're going to get deep into a lot of different things to do with the way we think about the way we think. And we're going to keep it very simple today. 60-second intervals, about half an hour all up. Just really doing marching exercises with different arms, side steps, 2 steps across, but keeping it really simple so that I can really focus on what I'm saying to you and you can focus on what I'm saying to you. Are you ready? We're going to press start. Just start with marching in place. Tummies are in, shoulders are down and back. Really nice big arm motions. Get your knees up high. And really think about how amazing it is that we can walk together. The fact that we are able to move, even if you're not able to go as fast as me in some of the steps, or maybe you don't like some of the exercises that I do and you stick to walking in place. All of that is totally fine because today is all about moving our bodies and thinking maybe in a slightly different way than we are used to help us break out of any prisons that we have created in our minds. So just before I launch into the topic at hand, I want to share that I have come to some of these realizations due to my own journey with many things in life, including, let's go step touch, including long-term illness. So this is my 4th year of having struggled with TSW. I'm not going to go into it right now. I have got some other talks on the channel that talk a little bit more about that. But through my journey of trying to find healing, I have found healing not only physically, but also emotionally and mentally. And so with these walk and talks, I basically am just sharing with you things that I have learned that have helped me during my darkest times, because it probably has been some of the most difficult times over the last 4 years, not going to lie. And I just wanted to give it to you guys or share it with you guys so that hopefully it resonates and can help some of you as well. So thank you for listening, and it's definitely not 2 steps across. It's definitely not expert advice. I'm not qualified in any field in terms of psychology or medicine or nutrition or any of those things. It really is just sharing with you what worked for me, knowing full well that everyone is an individual out there and you need to just find what works for you. But we're not snowflakes, and there are many of us that are actually very similar. Might have similar upbringing, similar belief structures, similar lifestyles. And for those people, what I'm sharing is hopefully valuable and relatable. So, something that I have been thinking about a lot lately is how harsh we are on ourselves. How, because of the way society presents mental health, for example, we beat ourselves up and we think that we're broken in some way, and we get so easily frustrated with ourselves. We lack compassion for ourselves. We definitely do not treat ourselves like we would treat our best friends, our loved ones, how we would counsel other people to treat others in our circumstance. We definitely don't do that most of the time, right? Unfortunately, most of us are our own worst critics. And it doesn't help that there is this massive movement of self-diagnosis because of the culture that we live in, especially if you live in the Western world. It's like everyone has become a psychologist. Everyone knows exactly what's wrong with everyone else, including themselves. They hear something and immediately jump to, oh, that's me, that's what I do. Therefore, I am this diagnosis. And perhaps you are. But the fact is, a diagnosis just puts you in a category. And in my mind, sometimes it can help because it helps you to feel like, okay, I'm not crazy, there is such a thing out there. But at the same time, sometimes it can hinder because then you attribute your characteristics, your actions, your beliefs, your ways of thinking to a certain diagnosis, rather than treating yourself as a unique individual that has a very unique set of circumstances that is definitely not the same. Let's go knee and tap in. That is not the same as anyone else out there. No one else out there, even if you were an identical twin and lived pretty much the same lifestyle your entire life, you would still be unique compared to your identical twin because it is so nuanced. Everything about us is so highly complex, so highly nuanced, you cannot compare yourself with anyone else. So diagnosis or not, you still need to look at yourself as a unique individual, that yes, there are shared issues with other people out there, but the way that you need to live your best life and become the best version of yourself is completely dependent on what your biology, physiology, environment dictates. Let's march again. Big marches, nice and warm now, so get those knees up higher. So, something that has come to my attention a lot lately in the podcasts I've been watching is the fact that your brain, biologically speaking, is designed to basically keep you alive, to preempt situations that could be harmful or dangerous in any way, and then to help you steer clear of those situations, or if you're already in them and you can't steer clear, to keep you alive. So, realistically speaking, if you are alive and you're listening to this right now, your brain has done a pretty good job. It's got a 100% success rate, okay, of keeping you alive. Let's go big arms and then diagonal heel. So number one, let's give a big round of applause to our brains for keeping us alive thus far. Okay, we may have made some stupid decisions, but the fact is, those decisions were made because our brain was trying to keep us alive. And we did the best we could with what we knew at the time. So looking further into where our beliefs come from, and basically your brain operates in such a way that it will always focus on what's most important to you. Okay, so you have programmed your brain by thinking a certain way over and over and over and over again to focus on certain things that are important to you. Let's go across with reaches up. And unfortunately, your brain is not going to say, hold on a second, I know you think this is important to you, Linda, but focusing on all the negative stuff is really not helpful, and it's actually harming your body, and I can see that you're causing these issues in your body, mentally or physically, because you're always focusing on this stuff. So maybe stop, maybe focus on something a little bit happier. It doesn't know how to do that. It basically just follows along, right? You're the programmer, and this is the software that you're programming. So, unfortunately, that means that if, at the very beginning, when you first had that clean slate, and you programmed in as a little child As a baby, you programmed in, out, in all of this software into your brain by observing, by seeing how your primary caregivers acted, developing coping mechanisms to get your needs met as a little child. Then, as you got older, learning how to please the people around you to get your needs met, you continue to cement those same beliefs over and over and over and over with different people, different situations, at school, with friendships, with work, so many different situations. And then with love relationships, that's a really big one because we tend to choose people that are similar to our primary caregivers. So you have well and truly rutted, cemented those beliefs. Okay, let's go across and knee, across and knee. I think we didn't do the other side, or did we? Doesn't matter, we'll do it again. So please give yourself a break and realize that the way you think is really just a coping mechanism to keep you alive. Something you developed as a child that was then cemented through your childhood, adolescence, adulthood, up until a point, and maybe you already reached that point where you realized it. And if you haven't reached that point where you realize that you are literally a product of your coping mechanisms that you put in place, then hopefully this will be the point. Because once you realize that, the pressure definitely gets less. Can we do a grapevine? Step behind, step together. Big wide arms. So once you realize your brain is not broken, but for some people who may have had an extremely chaotic upbringing, where there may have been abuse, where a primary caregiver may have been negligent, or an alcoholic or a drug user, or just not able to look after the child the way it should have been, then your brain is so much more, whoops, my ball, hypervigilant. It is hypervigilant. It always had to, at the time of being a child, always had to figure out, what's my parent thinking? What's my parent doing? Is now a good time to talk to them? Am I going to get my needs met? Am I going to get food today? Can you just imagine that little kid? Let's go insoles up. That little kid constantly having to scan the environment just to get basic needs met. Now, some of you may not be like that, and you may be thinking, but I've had a really good childhood. Maybe you have, but maybe one of your parents, even though they were physically present and met your immediate needs, maybe they were emotionally absent. You didn't feel the love, you didn't feel the connection, you didn't get cuddled enough. You were made to feel like everything you do is not good enough. Conditional love, maybe that was your deal. And then you went into every relationship thinking you had to perform in some way to get love. Does that sound familiar? Deep breath. So let's go into a little kind of pivot. So basically, it doesn't have to be something really drastic for your little tiny brain to develop coping skills that are not helpful for you as an adult. Now, this is just taking into account the epigenetics of your childhood environment, not to mention the food that you were fed, having an impact on how your brain develops, not to mention the toxic environment that often we live in. Maybe it was passive smoking, maybe it was just being around a lot of chemicals for some reason. Maybe your mum was a germaphobe and cleaned everything with bleach and you inhaled that your entire childhood. I don't know. Maybe there was mold in your home. Maybe it was always loud and you just never learned to sleep well. 2 steps, 2 butt kicks. Step, step, butt kick, butt kick. There could be a myriad of other things that have impacted your brain, including genetic things. I'm not discounting the fact that some things are genetic as well. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you compare yourself to some of these diagnoses and label yourself as having anxiety or having depression or having this or having that, you are not broken, in the sense that we live in this environment that is so fast-paced, that is so demanding, that has so many unrealistic expectations of us. No wonder, guys, no wonder, out, in, we find it hard to cope. No wonder. People back in the day used to have an entire village to help raise a child. Now it's you. Sometimes just you, sometimes you and your partner. Lucky if you have an extended family that are able to help. Not to mention looking after elderly parents that may be sick. Looking after a spouse that may be sick. There are so many stressful circumstances that we face in today's age, which were just not even an issue back in the day, right? So give yourself a break. I'm giving myself a break. Something I heard today, which was very interesting on this podcast, was let's go 2 across with little punches up and down. This lady was describing how there was at one point in her life, she was so sad and so low that she was contemplating taking her own life. And she described how she was sitting in the shower crying, and then she decided to, rather than just kind of despairing and saying, that's it, I'm gonna, get out of the shower, take a handful of pills and just die. She decided to take it a little bit further, and she started thinking about who would find me, who would get my stereo, who would get my CD collection. And then she realized that when she died, the physical things that she owned would be given to people, or would be taken and would be owned by someone else. But the problems she had, figure 8 arms butt kick, the problems she had, the problems that were making her despair, nobody would take those. They would literally disappear. So it made her feel like, or I guess it helped her to see that the problems are fleeting. They're not something solid. There's something that are in her mind that perhaps she can change while she's alive by changing the perspective, rather than having to die for them to be gone. I hope that makes sense. I'm not sure if I butchered it a bit. But basically, her change of perspective from that point on helped her to realize that it is a story she was telling herself. Let's just march. It was a story. How about 1, 2, 3 and tap? 1, 2, 3 and tap. It was a story she was telling herself about her circumstances, that she couldn't handle it, that she was so unhappy that she did not want to be here anymore, that caused her to want to check out. It was a story. So how could she then reframe that story? And going back to what our brain focuses on, she had been focusing on how happy she was. And the brain just does what you keep thinking about, your core beliefs. It keeps reinforcing them. It keeps showing you those same core beliefs, validating them, confirming them, because it thinks that's what's important to you. So out of all the information we're bombarded with, that's what it hones in on, right? So it's not a good thing. How about high to low arms and little taps out to the side? So when you're focused on something negative, your brain will continue to give you confirmation of those negative things, but the reverse is also true. When you focus on something positive, and you continually focus on something positive, and you find something to be grateful for in your life, because there's always something, and you continue to focus on the things you're grateful for, and you start to build those neurological pathways in your brain towards a positive slant rather than a negative one, then your brain will give you confirmation bias based on the positive. I promise you, it's something that with time, you can change. You can become a more positive thinker. It may take time, but it's possible. Okay, we're gonna go knee and knee, knee and knee. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you have found yourself in a situation where you're just unhappy, where you get annoyed at yourself for being, say, easily angered or frustrated, or just overwhelmed, not being able to handle as much as maybe one of your friends or as much as society thinks that you should be able to handle, take a step back. Instead of just getting frustrated and thinking you need to grit your teeth and continue to push and push and push, no matter how tired you are, take a step back and look at your coping mechanisms and ask yourself the question, when did I first start behaving like this? What was my childhood really like? Across and across, 2 taps into the center. What was my childhood like? Was there a reason for me to be hypervigilant? Was there a reason for me to be a people pleaser? And give yourself a break long enough to ask some questions, to perhaps get to the bottom of some childhood trauma that you may have never even realized was there, that you may have never dealt with. And one way to really help yourself, and I've said this so many times, is to learn how to still your mind. And that's why everyone goes on about meditation, because it's one of the best ways to learn how to still your mind, how to calm your nervous system, telling your body it's safe for you to explore. It's safe for you to go inside and do some work that you may not have been able to do before. Front, side, so heel and side, heel and toe. If you are in fight or flight, which most of us are in a lot of the day, simply because we've got so much stuff to do every single day, we just have to knuckle down and get through. But if you are in that state, your body is not going to be wanting to do introspective work. It's not going to be like, okay, now is the time to see what happened to you, Linda, when you were 5. No, you need to get into a place where your body feels safe to do that before you can even start doing it. So even if you start with 5 minutes of just sitting and focusing on your breath, or doing yoga nidra, which is what I do, doing a body scan. I do 15 minutes most days of yoga nidra, and I do a full body scan, which this lady leads me through, Ali Boothright. I can link you guys. She's amazing. Her voice is so soothing, and after years of doing this, I can go into that place where my brain is still awake, but it feels like my body is asleep. This amazing kind of brainwave. And that is how I have discovered so much stuff about my past. It just literally pops into my mind like a movie on a TV screen, because I'm so calm and in that receptive mode, and I'm asking what's going on. Why did I get triggered by XYZ? Then I see little snippets of my childhood or adolescence or whenever it was in my life, and it gives me the ability to kind of look at it in a compassionate way without the frenzy of my stressed nervous system and my overcrowded brain. Okay? We don't need that frenzy. Let's just stay on one side and do knees. We need to calm the frenzy as much as possible. And the more you practice calming your nervous system and feeling what that actually feels like, the more you know when you're dysregulated. And then literally taking time out, taking some deep breaths, realizing that you're dysregulated, telling yourself that, hey, calm down, you're safe, you don't need to feel like you're being chased by a lion. It can make so much difference in your life as long as you keep doing it. Keep practicing, training that brain. You've trained it the opposite way for so many years, so it's going to take time, just like training a muscle in your body, but it is possible. But you have to persevere, be consistent. Deep breaths. Is your tummy in? I haven't really been giving you many form cues, because form pointers I meant to say, because I've been talking so much, but this time has been flying past. Other side, knee in. So, it's very messy. It's very, very messy, this psyche of ours. But it is possible to slowly organize the mess. And the fact is that we do not have to think we're broken. We're just reorganizing, we're shuffling stuff in there. We can love the fact that our brain has kept us alive this long, has tried to do its best. We can cut ourselves some slack and say we have been doing the best we can with what we know, with the circumstances around us. And yes, that may have been the best we can, but you know what? There's a future of possibilities. In the future, we can do better with the new knowledge that we find. Knowledge is power, right? Side, 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 knee, 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 knee. So 4 of each. Knowledge is power. So even today, just hearing a little bit of my story and what I've been learning, I hope it prompts in you a desire not to stay the same. What is the definition of insanity? I'm sure you've all heard this. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. If you have been trying to deal with your overwhelmness, your anxiety, your anger issues, using the same techniques of maybe reading that self-help book again that seemed to work for 5 minutes. Let's go 2 steps across. Let's go rows behind. Pull behind, squeeze your shoulder blades together. That self-help book, right? Hoping for a different result this time, even though it didn't work the last few times. Talking to that friend again, who never really gives you that good advice. You think it just feels good venting. But guess what you're doing when you're constantly venting about the same issues? Reinforcing it in your brain. So I'm not sure that's going to be helpful either. So whatever go-to you have used to try and help get out of the rut you're in, it hasn't worked, has it? So guess what? Do something new. Do something new. There is so much information out there now. We are living in the most blessed day and age. There are people left, right, and center who want to help us, who want to help us grow, right? Who are sharing from their experiences on podcasts, on fitness videos, with books, so many different things, even in movies. So please, don't keep doing what you've kept doing. Do something new. Just keep looking. You can find something that works for your unique experience. The other thing I heard today, which is in closing because we're nearly done, is that people get ashamed when stuff happens to them mentally, like panic attacks or like even psychotic episodes. They get ashamed because they think there's something wrong with their brain. Guess what? Your body is going to find a way to slow you down and stop you in your tracks if you refuse to look at the signals in your everyday life. March it out. Your body's trying to keep you alive. When your brain overheats, something's going to happen. Something's got to give in there. For me, I was a go, go, go person my entire life. I never slowed down. I could never do yoga because I thought it was a waste of time to just be so slow and to breathe and to really focus. I was never one of those people that could sit and meditate. My self-worth was completely tied up in doing, right? I had to get stopped in my tracks. And yes, it was severe, and yes, it was like screeching on the brakes. Within a couple of weeks, I went from being completely able-bodied to being disabled for many years. 2 years of absolute hell where I didn't film or anything. We're finishing here, side to side. I had to go through that. I wish I didn't. I don't know any other way that life, the universe, would have stopped me. I had to go through something that was so drastic. I'm saying to you, please don't let that be you. Please listen to the small signs. Listen to the aches and pains. Listen to the irritable bowel. Listen to the eczema. Listen to the anxiety within your chest. Listen to your body telling you it's time to change. It's time to put yourself first. It is time to do something different, and do not delay, because you know what? Today's problem is only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger. It will not go away. It will never go away. The circumstances changing will not get rid of your problem. If you get $1 million tomorrow, the man of your dreams, the child you've wanted for years, whatever it is that's your dream, if you get that tomorrow, you are still you. Your issues are still issues in your body. All of your childhood trauma, all of your patterns are in here. Only you have the key to let them out. But you've got to be consistent. You've got to find ways of doing it. And you've got to love yourself enough to take that time out, okay? That's it, people. I'm going to love you and leave you. Hope it helped in some way. Questions below. Happy to link you in on stuff that I've been listening to that has helped me. And I'll see you soon with another walk and talk. Bye for now.